Hi, welcome to Meet RX Success Story Podcast. I'm Coach Amber, and today I'm here with Charlie to hear about his success story with the Carnivore Diet. Hi, Charlie.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Could you tell me a little bit of what your symptoms were like, any issues you had before you started the Carnivore Diet? If you could kind of walk through that with us and tell us all the different things that were going on with you.
Sure. I'm 64 now, and so I'm going to say probably about around 50, started getting rheumatoid arthritis. A lot of problems with my knees and problems with my shoulders. I was just a working day guy, just like everybody else, taking care of the family, stuff like that. So you just keep going. And I would go to a regular doctor, and at one point in time, I was getting, like a shot in my shoulder or various exercises to do with resistance bands and things like that. And you're basically told, well, you get older, things wear out. This is what happens in life, grow up. Okay. So this was my started with my knees and then with my shoulders. And I would start to get, as I started to get older now into my late 50s, I was getting winded much more easily. Going up and down a flight of stairs. So now it's not enough that my knees are screaming, my lungs would be screaming too. And then I finally noticed that I had to take snacks much more frequently. It takes about 20 minutes for me to walk from my apartment to downtown. And it would get to the point where I would have to have a snack bag with me with peanuts and pretzels and stuff like that. Now, watching Dr. Jason Fung and other people, you start to put the chemistry of it all together. We have people who present things on a very simple level, like Dr. Ken Berry, and but I'm very grateful to all of the people of the various carnivore communities and keto communities that help you put it all together, because after a while you just feel like everything is falling apart. I get my medical care from the Veterans Administration, and I get great care. And these people are really concerned and everything else, but they can't give me like a cardiac calcium scan or something like that. All their stuff is very low tech and kind of old. The people's training is good, and they mean well. So I mean, you hear horror stories about the VA. I have nothing but good things to say about them. But you get to the point where you just keep going back, and you're just getting older, and things are breaking down, and it's just the way it is. And your A1C is going higher and higher and higher. And we don't like the way that your LDL and your triglycerides are going higher and higher, and we don't like what we're starting to see, especially with the A1C, and then my weight. So my weight started to finally go up, and I started going, I never even noticed my weight all up until like 50, 55. You don't even notice it. You're just working and just doing things. But after 55, I couldn't lose Christmas weight anymore. And then after like 60, you can't lose any weight anymore. And my weight finally got up to 262. I'm 6'3". My A1C got up to about 6.5. My blood pressure, fortunately, never went really crazy or anything. But, the doctor starts to talk to me about things to start looking for in stroke symptoms, like the curtains will come down and your world will collapse and things like that to look out for. And I don't want any of this sort of stuff. And what am I supposed to do? Eliminate fats and go on this really diet that we have. And you get a little plate. There's this little teeny tiny plate. It's divided into threes, and you put a little piece of protein, a little piece of vegetable, a little piece of carbohydrate, and you get a little spoon. And the VA sends you to these embarrassing classes about calories in, calories out, like you're a complete moron. And they just explain to this. And I sit down with these people that mean well. And I say to them, you mean to tell me that a calorie of ice cream is just as fattening as a calorie of steak? Yes, a calorie is a calorie. Okay. I tried all that. I tried the calories in, calories out. I tried the little tiny plate, and I was always famished. And I would be cheating left and right, and my weight would continue to go up. And it just got to the point, the final breaking point. I've seen a couple people, they talk about what was your breaking point. And my breaking point one day was I was sitting in a chair, the easy chair with the feet up. And why is my right foot and ankle so much bigger than my left foot and ankle? That ain't right. By this time, I had already been watching a lot of things from, like I said, Dr. Barry and Dr. Fung and other things as well. Vegan, what do they have to say? I'm listening to everybody. And finally, the only thing that seemed to make any sense to me was don't think of it in any other way except insulin control. Just keep an eye on the insulin, whatever you're doing. If you can eat the fat, because that has the smallest glycemic bump, the smallest insulin bump, instead of the sugar that has the biggest bump. Sugar is the biggest, protein is a little bit, fat hardly has any at all. So I was trying keto, and I was getting the keto flu, and I was trying a couple things, and I kept falling back to the standard American diet. And I went to the doctor, and I had the blood tests, and things aren't looking good. Your A1C is 6.5, things aren't looking good, okay. So and I did some education, and I have an appointment every 6 months at the VA, and I have a blood test coming up. And so that's it. I had tried to stick my toe in the water, and I got the keto flu because I didn't understand about the electrolyte balance. Now I get it. Potassium is cheap. Just get Morton light salt. Congratulations, all the potassium you want. Magnesium is cheap. Just go ahead and get Epsom salt. Lots of magnesium. You got it right there. So you don't have to buy these expensive little tiny powders. It's sold at the grocery store if you just know what to look for. Anyway, long story short, I decided to just go. I went for an 8-day total fast. Nothing but electrolytes and water. Black coffee, green tea. That was it. At the end of the 8 days, I go in for my blood work. I'm called up by the doc. Your triglycerides are through the roof. Your LDL is through the roof. You got to come in here. I go in there. They're talking to me. And they're like, no more fats, no more meats, no more. And these they didn't want me to take these drugs, these things called statins, these drugs. And I'm like, let me see if I got this straight. You're telling me that my LDL is high and my cholesterol, my triglycerides are high because I'm eating too much meat and too much fat. I didn't eat anything for 8 days. You want to explain this to me again? I know they mean well, but they don't understand that the triglyceride is this little bundle of processed fats that's just ready to go. But it can't go floating around in the bloodstream because it's fats. You shake up oil and water, they separate. Glucose, sugar, you put that in the water, and it completely is dissolved. And that's how it can float through. But the fat needs to be transported somehow. And there comes our friend, the LDL, to transport the triglyceride that's full of good stuff that we need when we don't have sugar anymore. And that's what these doctors aren't getting. And that's what people like Sean Baker and Jason Fung and all these people finally make sense. It finally makes sense when they're talking about it, what to look for. So I've just been, the biggest battle wasn't necessarily my health per se. It was ignoring the people that really care on a professional level, love you family-wise on another level, but can't understand why you're not going to have that great big blob of mashed potatoes and the gravy and the vegetables, that you got to have this stuff. You got to have this balanced meal. That was the wake-up call for me, was the swelling, and finally to just say, I have to ignore what I'm being told by people who are professionals and have letters after their names and fancy pieces of paper on the wall, and all this great stuff. And I have to go with voices on the internet, but they make more sense. And to have my VA doctor go, how can you trust these people? You don't know them. And I said to her, who she means very well, this isn't a matter of trust, it's a matter of science. What does LDL do? What does a triglyceride do? What is the purpose of it? What's it made out of? And she could not answer. All they can do is just measure how many of them are floating around, not even the size. It's the same measurement as 20 years. Anyway, I'm sorry, I don't know if I even answered the question or not.
You did great. Thank you so much for that. And it sounds very familiar. Let me tell you, I hear this a lot. Okay, so our next question is, how did you implement the carnivore diet? Like, what did you eat? How often did you eat? And did you have any issues?
First couple times, I was actually sticking my foot more slowly in the water through keto, and that's where I had issues. When I would do it slowly with keto, I would be hungry, I would cheat. I was still a little worried about meat, so I was trying with keto to get my protein from other places, rice and beans, peanut butter, some cheese, things like that, because, big bad meat. And then that's why I was having issues. But keto taught me to be aware. That was the whole thing. Be aware of what, instead of just shoving stuff in your face to stifle the hunger, and then you're hungry 30 minutes later, be aware of what it is. Fat, protein, and the elements that we need. So the first times trying it that way, it was hard, but the 8-day fast and then plunging in that way, I had bits of hunger, of course, but I didn't get sick. I didn't feel, the flu things and things like that. And now every time, like if I do go off, I know Dr. Baker is a purist and he's great. You can go through Christmas and just have beef and water and stuff like that. So when I do fall off the wagon, I just go straight into carnivore again, and I use that as a baseline. If I just get into carnivore and use that just as a base, then I can add things. I can add an avocado. I can add, some carrots. I can add some other things if I decide to make a stew or a soup or something like that. But I can always I've learned to come back to carnivore as a baseline to get rid of to greatly eliminate like the rheumatoid arthritis. I can move around now. There's 6 steps to go up into the apartment building. I used to use a cane, and now I bounce up those stairs. I can go 8 days without eating. I don't need to eat every 20 minutes in little snacking things. I mean, these things have just been such an improvement. And also the unexpected one that I didn't hear about anyway, was that now I hear a lot about was the mental clarity too. And that's something that you don't really notice slipping away. You might notice, joint pain, you might notice, stomach upset, you might notice these other things. But the mental clarity you don't really notice until that all of a sudden starts to snap back a little bit. And another thing, as a single guy, carnivore is simple. It's really, really simple. I mean, I'm carnivore on a budget. I'm on Social Security and things like that. So I'm good with, meatloafs. And, so I'll make a couple of them a day, slice them up and freeze them, and I don't have to cook for a week. As a guy, I just eat the same things and I don't care. So if I've got meatloafs that are sliced up and frozen and blocks of stew that are frozen and all these other things, I can go long periods of time. As a guy, I'm making a mess of my kitchen and things like that. I can make 5, 6, 7 meals in one shot and just be done with it. And they're quality meals. It's not like I'm making garbage or lasagna or cookies or something like that. It's at 8 o'clock at night. If I'm feeling hungry, I could just go into the kitchen and grab a block of meatloaf and take a couple of bites out of it. Or go ahead and if I want a blob of fat, just take a thing of sour cream and just take the top off, boom, boom. Carnivore, if I understand that I would love every animal to have a wonderful life. I would love every one of them to just be able to wander around in fields of lush grass and just be killed by being bored to death with Emerson poems. I really do. But that's just not real life. And I can't afford that level. I can afford the basics of carnivore, which are things like, ground beef and contiguous pot roast, gentlemen. And what I mean by contiguous pot roast is that if you look at the roast, make sure that it's one solid piece, not these pieces that have been put together. Dump it into the crock pot, and it's delicious. So as a carnivore, it's simple stuff to make really delicious meals that give me more than one feeding. If you do something in vegetables, you ever notice that the next time you go to eat it, the vegetables are all wimpy and nasty, and you take them out of the fridge? You can't redeem them. Carnivore, it gets better every single time. The spices kick in, and it gets better and better. So as a single guy, it's an inexpensive way to eat a very high quality meals that I feel comfortable with and I feel good about. And again, everything from the arthritis to the pains to the skin rashes to all these sorts of things clear. Now, I have glaucoma, still have glaucoma. love to hope that it clears up the glaucoma. You know, I'm not holding my breath. Still take my glaucoma meds. But, you know, everything else has just been great. Another thing, guys, really cheap thing to keep on hand, sardines. Boneless sardines in olive oil. Why? You just open it up, drain it out, and eat them with a little hot sauce. As a guy, we just want something that's fast. I'm hungry, I want it now. These things are boosted with omega-3s, and God forbid coronavirus starts to go around and truck drivers get sick and things don't get delivered to the grocery stores. You can stock up on these things with a 10-year shelf life. Just saying.
Thank you. That's awesome advice. Okay, so now you've been on the carnivore diet for a while and using it as your baseline. Can you kind of tell us what improvements you've seen, what things that you mentioned in our first question about the issues you were dealing with, how has that changed for you? How has that improved?
Sure. The arthritis is cleared up. So one of the big benefits is that now I'm back to bicycle riding again. You know, I said, well, you know, bicycle riding, but that is a huge quality of life. I live in a beautiful town. I live in Salem, Massachusetts, the People's Republic of Massachusetts. And, you know, there's bike trails and things like that. And it's beautiful. Today, we're having 50 degrees and sunshine in March. So just earlier today, I was out riding my bicycle. That was all taken away from me. Or you want to say carnivore gave it all back to me. So the bicycle is not only just a form of transportation, but unless you're commuting on a bicycle, you can't ride a bike and not smile. It is a total blowout. You just feel great. So carnivore gave me back that aspect of a social life because I can move around my knees. One of the things I did, for example, I joined a local sailing club but you have to be able to work on the boat. You know, so I got to be able to get on my knees and stuff like that and move around. I help work on a sailboat. These are quality of life issues. So it's not just knee hurt, carnivore, knee doesn't hurt. It's the knee hurt, and that took away many fun parts of what are some of the best years of my life now. And that's the other thing is that a lot of times as we get into our 60s and 70s, we might think of these as being, you know, not the best years. But with this now, it is. You know, I have the mental clarity from 20, 30 years ago. I have the wind and stamina from that time. It's like the clock has been dialed back, and this hands me back many aspects. I can see the Social Security Administration is going to hate this because they're going to have to pay me the whole time I'm alive. They'd rather that I just drop dead if they're smart. But you know, we have a disease problem in this country, not a health crisis. You get a disease, you fix the disease. There's no money in preventative care. This MeatRx is a wonderful idea because you're educating people and you're showing them, look, I've been doing this for over a year and a half, and I kept individual food logs of every single day, a spreadsheet of what I was eating and when I ate it. And I sent many of these over to the folks at MeatRx to show, you know, what I've been doing and why. And I kept those logs to keep myself honest because at first cheating is too good. Carbohydrates are every bit as, I'm not addicted to alcohol or heroin, but I got to assume that all addictions are pretty much based on pretty much the same things, according to like Dr. Fung and stuff. And carbs are addictive. And carnivores help me kick this carb addiction. So I have quality of life issues that have been restored to me now. Thanks to carnivore as a baseline, and then sometimes I add, sometimes I cheat, sometimes I fall back, but I have a safety net now. So I'm mostly carnivore. I mean, in the last couple of days, I would say at least 95% of my calories are carnivore. And one last thing, if I can, I want to toss something out. The other day, for example, I'm walking around in Boston. If you ever find yourself walking around in the city and you notice the prices for everything, you go, how am I going to eat? What am I going to eat? Go to Quarter Pounder or something like that at McDonald's. Well, that's what, $4 or something like that for a quarter of a pound, $4. So I went to this upscale grocery store and a beautiful salad bar and hot food bar. A lot of the food had like breading and stuff until finally I got to the roast beefs. and the roasts and the loins and things like that. For $10 a pound, you can just stock up. You can't even make it that cheap. So if you're in the city, any city, and you're looking for, hey, how can I get a good carnivore meal at a low price? Go to the grocery store, go to the hot food bars, and check them out. Great savings.
Great tips. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for sharing your story. It's very exciting. I'm really happy that you have improved your quality of life, because that's everything. And you don't have to buy into this whole, you get older and it just has to be that way. No, you're living proof. So kudos to you. And thank you so much, Charlie, for joining us. And you have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. And again, you look at this, there's no shakes, there's no pills, it's just common sense. You could do this without spending any money on any supplements, on anything, if you just dive into it and you just give it 30 days. Just give it 30 days and see if it helps. That's all. All right, I'll let you go. Thank you very much for this opportunity, because quite frankly, I hope other people enjoy the health benefits and get their life back. It's been great. Anyway, thank you. Good luck, success. I hope you all help a lot of people.
Thank you so much, Charlie. Bye.